What's up, everyone? Welcome to my MMA Q&A live stream. We got a collab edition of the MMA Q&A live stream. Happy to be joined by one of the best content creators in the game right now, someone I speak about a lot on this channel, someone that I think is doing things the right way. Happy to be joined by my guy, Wyatt here. Fight Society, you've seen him on YouTube. Wyatt, how are you, man?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Merry Christmas.
Yes, you as well. And I did your show a couple weeks ago. Wanted to get this in before the new year because, you know, I'm all about returning the favor and all that stuff too. But for those who might not be familiar with your channel, your work, I have talked about you a bit on this channel. But I think one of the cool things is like you actually train martial arts, and that's sort of what led to you getting into the channel. So take me through sort of your martial arts background real quick, like the close notes of you getting into martial arts and then you starting your channel, which I know has been fairly new.
Yeah, so I grew up, I played baseball most of my life. I played baseball through college. And once I finished college, you know, I came to the realization that a professional baseball career wasn't really in the cards for me. And so I started looking for new interests, and I had a couple of friends that trained kickboxing at the gym that I've trained at since I started training. It's Dynamics MMA in Los Angeles. It's you know, head coaches Anthony Hardonk, former UFC heavyweight and K1 kickboxer. And I started training there, got into UFC. I've been into UFC like since the McGregor era, but that's when I really dove into learning the sport. I started competing. I competed in kickboxing and Muay Thai and no-gi jiu-jitsu. And somewhere along the way, I actually started a different podcast that doesn't exist anymore. It was kind of like a Joe Rogan Experience type of podcast where you just talk about anything, talk about anybody. And it's kind of hard to gain traction when you have no niche, essentially. When you're a Rogan sized personality, you can attract an audience, but being just Joe Schmo, like mid-20s guy that was a fighter, hard to kind of grow an audience. So I niched it down and started Fight Society. My first video was October of 23. So it's
cool.
a little over 2 years since I've been doing this channel. And basically it started with inspirations of people like Joe Rogan. And it's funny because I know he's not taken super seriously in the space, but I used to love watching Chael Sonnen's videos a couple of years ago. I know that people don't take his takes that serious anymore, but those were like two of the main inspirations for getting into covering MMA and kind of putting like a comedic spin on it and putting my own spin on things, because I thought that I had something valuable to add. And, you know, the channel as far as growth has been really, really good in the last, I'd say 6 or 7 months. Well, the first year and a half or so was kind of just spinning the wheels, getting better at making content, things like that. And my approach to it, essentially, like the bio on my channel, is cutting through the BS to help fight fans understand the truth, the sport, and the business about MMA. So I try to show all sides of the sport. I do technical breakdowns, I do news reactions, and some of the bigger headlines, like the Andre Arlovsky and Jack Doherty thing. Just kind of the whole. I kind of run the whole gambit. So that's kind of the gist of it. I was a fighter. I don't compete anymore. I realized that working a 9 to 5, making YouTube videos, trying to stay on top of my fitness, and being a competitive martial artist was just a bit too much on my plate. And the thing that I wanted to pursue the most was YouTube. So that's when I stopped competing and started focusing on just my regular job. I'm a personal trainer outside of this, and making YouTube content. And I'm hoping to make YouTube my full-time thing in the next year or so.
Awesome. Well, no, it's worked out well. Like I said, I watch all your content, and especially it's especially impressive, I would say, in today's YouTube sort of industry right now with the MMA side of things, because a lot of channels, and I just did a video on this, a lot of channels like are kind of not dying, but the views have definitely gone down with a lot of channels, and I think part of that is new channels entering in the fray and just how people are consuming content. So props to you, man. And I just watched your Andrew Tate video before he hopped on here, some really good stuff. And I think one of the things I like, and you and I are very similar that way, is that we will cover things, but we'll do it in a way where it's not like the rage baity, hate content, that type of thing. You do a great job of kind of breaking it down. And I would say part of that, I would assume, is because you have competed. I think there's a lot of people in this space who haven't, and they don't really have a lot of empathy or understanding for what fighters go through. But I like the way you break stuff down, and you sort of, you're critical, and I'm the same way, but I'm not doing it in a manner where it's like, taking the cheap route of like, this guy sucks, right? Like that type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And basically, the takes that I give are my genuine takes. If they are overly critical or they are like really trashing somebody. Like I went really hard after Andrew Tate these last few days.
And he deserves it. He's
exactly.
not a good dude. Like I'm with you there. Like, but like your average UFC fighter, like I see a lot of these guys kind of taking the cheap route of like, oh, this guy's terrible. Like, can't cope, like mentally unstable, that type of stuff. It's like, not really. Like Andrew Tate, yeah, go for it. Jack Doherty, go for it. I feel the same way, by the way.
Yeah. And I think that part of the reason that is with a lot of MMA content is that there is a lot of people I'm 27. There's a lot of people in my generation and younger that are just chronically online and they never actually have to face the consequences or other people's real life opinions of the things that they say online. I train at like a good gym with people that take the sport seriously, with people that are professionals. I have people in my day-to-day life that watch my actual videos. So if I just come in here, or come in like a video or come in here and just start like throwing like rage bait and slurs around like some channels do, then like, somebody in my personal life is actually going to have something to say to me about it. And along with that, the digital footprint's forever. If I'm putting out an opinion, I want it to be my genuine opinion. I don't want to say some edgy thing that I don't really mean for the sake of getting clicks. And then that coming back around and people are mad at me over something I don't even remember saying,
Yeah. Absolutely. Let's get to a couple questions here,
Yeah.
and then there's a couple other things I wanted to touch on here. Shout out to our guy, Gentleman RC. Happy holidays to you and yours, James. Keep up the great content. I appreciate that. Morning, guys. Hope you had a great day. Definitely will, because I'm doing this, and then I get to go hang out with my kids after. I heard stories about Usman Islam being a lock. Not sure if that is real news. I think it is going to happen. I kind of asked the people sort of in the know a little bit if there's anything like, as far as I know right now, as of like this week, I haven't heard it's like signed or it's done, but I think the fact we haven't got that fight booked yet, the fact that I mentioned this in a video a couple weeks ago, but like you can just see where the tide's going, right? Like Usman's doing all this media. Islam's doing these interviews being like, it would be an honor to fight Usman. And it's like, you guys have the same manager, and it's like, come on, we know what's going on here. They're trying to put this fight together. I've said it before. My big gripe with Usman is that yes, he fought this year, but he took all of 2024 off. Like, are we forgetting that? If we're gonna go off, fighters not fighting that often, then give Shavkat the title shot. He hasn't lost. So I don't know. Your thoughts on this? I've seen some of your takes on the Usman thing. I think most people are kind of like, really, we're gonna do this Usman fight?
Yeah, my opinion on it is like, I'm definitely not thrilled about it. When I see the announcement and the stuff, I'm just going to be like, all right, fine. Yeah. Because that's like what the UFC wants to do. Ali's got pull with them. Ali's going to, good for him. He's going to bag 2 checks off of that fight. And really, it's undeserved, of course. I don't think anybody's going to debate that. But Islam himself is even pushing this as like a legacy thing, saying that, he's going to fight the greatest welterweight ever in a lot of people's eyes. I think it's GSP, but he wants to beat the welterweight GOAT in his eyes. And I actually saw some rumors yesterday on Instagram. It's like those aggregator pages, they kind of make up announcements and stuff. But
we talk about those a lot on here. Yes, absolutely. Yes.
But I saw people are saying that it's that 327, which would be the pay-per-view or numbered card after Holloway Oliveira, is going to be in Dubai in April. And that would be Islam and Usman. Yeah. So I guess that makes sense, putting Islam in the Middle East. I think that at this point in Usman's career, he doesn't deserve a title fight. And I really don't even see him beating Islam. I know he's a high level wrestler, but he's at the end of the career. Islam, by all markers, is still in his prime. And I think it's a relatively one-sided fight, even though he gave Khamzat a very hard time at middleweight on short notice. I don't see 39-year-old Usman with bad knees and inactive taken out, in my opinion, the best pound for pound fighter in the sport right now.
Yeah, and that Chimaev fight was back in 2023. A lot of people reference that, and you should, because that obviously is sort of a footnote on his career. But I sort of feel the same way about that, where it's like, and I get it, because obviously Usman was a champion. He had a number of title defenses, like that should count for something. My whole thing is him missing the whole year. Like if Usman had fought, Chimaev in 2024 and then fought Buckley this year, and be like, okay, there's a little bit more active, but like, I don't know why people forget that he took that whole year off. And yes, it could have been injuries or whatever, but like, I don't know. I like to like just as an example, Carlos Prates has fought 7 times since Usman fought Chimaev, and you fought Usman, who's only fought once. Like, how are we not rewarding that? That's kind of where I'm coming from in that.
No, I hear you on that. And even further than that, the Buckley win that Usman had this year has not aged that well.
I know. I agree.
Yeah. I mean, who did he beat? I think he beat Wonder Boy
and Colby, and they're 2 guys close to 40. I agree. Like, we don't even know if Buckley's like a contender at this point. It's tough,
exactly
right. So I kind of agree with you on that. Okay, let's keep this rolling here. Welcome, Fight Society. Yeah, again, everyone on this channel, please go subscribe to Fight Society. You won't regret it. Really, really good content. I used to watch Tate because he had some hilarious takes. So let me be clear about the Tate thing. Like, I think there's a few things that Tate says that I think has some relevance in today's society, but this whole, and I talked about this on another channel, his whole thing about like, you know, just going to like the extreme on everything. There's obviously all the allegations against him as well, which are hard to ignore. It's multiple. Oh, they're just making it up. Well, you got like 20 women, or I don't know how many it is now. Like, it's crazy. And then it's the whole thing. Like, if Andrew, here's my issue with the Andrew Tate thing, is that if someone else had, you know, talked a big game and gone and fought the type of fight that Andrew Tate fought, he'd be the first one to call him a loser. We know that would happen. Yeah. So why all of a sudden he's immune? And then I pointed out that Myron Gaines tweet where he's like, most of you wouldn't step in there. It's like, this guy claimed to be a world champion. This is not the same thing as like a, you know, random influencer like going out there and taking a fight. Like, Tate has combat sports experience. So he fought a bad fight. Just call it like it is. I'm tired of these people gaslighting him and pretending that this is some sort of like, you know, noble thing. And by the way, it's 5 years he was off competition, not 10. He had a kickboxing fight in 2020. People got to do the math on that one too. So
yeah, he actually had 3 kickboxing fights in 2020. I looked at his Tapology. Yeah. People talk about, oh, ring rust and his age. I mean, he's the same age as Alex Pereira, you know, like, and John Jones. And I mean, Justin Gaethje's fight for an interim title in 5 weeks. He's 37. I don't think the age argument's fair. And also, I agree with you on that, because the top G alpha male persona that he's put on doesn't really match the performance he put on. He showed no dog at all. And also going and doing a 40-minute cope session. I made a video about that, but a 40-minute cope session.
Go watch his video. You summarized it perfectly. I really liked what you did there. So
thank you. And on top of that, part of me thinks that his combat sports resume is like somewhat made up, because he said he had 75. He was 75-9 or something as a kickboxer. His Tapology has like 30 fights. I know it's a lot anyway. And then if you look at his most recent fight, if you look at them introducing him and his opponent, they have him at 75 wins and 9 losses, and they have his opponent at 0-0, making a pro debut. So it's pretty like Temu. It's like a Temu, Walmart, 99-cent store type of resume, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you can't fool MMA fans with that stuff. We can certainly go look it up. One thing I wanted to mention before we get into a couple next questions, when I was on your show, I thought this was such a cool thing. You brought up how we both know Jordan Wright, the former UFC fighter. And, you know, this goes back to kind of the audience thing, which I remember Jordan got so much shit from fans because obviously he kept losing by knockout, and he does fight a little reckless. But, I mean, you know this, maybe one of the nicest guys in the sport. Like, if you didn't know that he fought, if you didn't know, like, if he wasn't, like, such a big guy and, like, all this stuff, if you just, like, knew him, like, if you saw, like, an interview with me and him, you just think he's a regular guy. But like, he is maybe one of the nicest people, and he's like a bit of a nerd too, which is cool. Like, he's into like anime and all that stuff, which is awesome. So
yeah, he actually, I just was at I did gi jiu-jitsu on Monday night, and he was the coach for it. He's a great guy.
Oh, cool. Yeah, no, can't say enough good things about that. Just wanted to add that in there in case Jordan's watching this. Can we get Fight Society's thoughts on Renat being released despite being 6-0-1? One thing I'll just mention before I get your response on this. So I had a bunch of people in the comments yesterday being like, oh, good, this guy, you know, he's older, and he had, someone said he had 3 robberies, right? They talked about the Zaleski fight being a robbery. They talked about the Dalby fight being a robbery. Carlos Leal, I'll give you that one. I thought Leal won, okay? But the whole point of this thing is not whether or not you thought he won this fight or not. The point is that he has not lost in the UFC, technically. He's coming off a 35-second knockout in his last fight, in a fight where they clearly wanted the other guy to win. Gustafsson has one UFC fight. They give him Renat, who's had a number of fights. Like, and now this whole thing is like, oh, good, we don't need him. It's like, we need fighters like Renat. Like, yes, some of his fights have gone the distance, but overall, he's been an exciting fighter. I haven't, you know, watched his fights and gone like, you know, this guy, like, nobody wants to watch this guy fight. I feel like there's so many fans out there that will take the UFC side on anything, no matter what it is, like, and they will just like use whatever mental gymnastics they have to. And it's sad because we're not going to get good fighters in the UFC if we continue down this path. Your thoughts on the Renat release?
I think he should still be in the sport. 6-0 is 6-0, whichever way you slice it, undefeated in the sport. And I find it interesting that people are justifying it on the UFC's behalf. And it's just unfair to the fighters how the UFC is like the only sports organization that is allowed to, for lack of a better term, I'm not accusing them of this, but breach contracts. Because you 6-0 and they can just be like, better luck somewhere else. And coming off of a 35-second knockout, I think it just shows that the direction with TKO, you know, being the ownership, and potentially even this could be a Paramount Plus executives getting involved and saying, we don't want this type of fighter, whether that be where they're from or their fight style, whatever it is, them being kind of like, it's like the WWE-ification of the UFC in some ways, which it's from a legitimacy standpoint. You can't look at a guy that's undefeated coming off of a dominant win, somebody that even beat like a Kevin Lee early on in his UFC career, and be like, all right, better luck. Go to ACA, go fight in ACA in Russia, go fight for Brave FC or whatever else there is out there for him. The only thing that I'm curious about is if, and I don't want to accuse him of this, but if he possibly failed a drug test, if that would be the reason for it. But we probably would have heard about that if that was the case.
Well, and he would have had some time off. Like, remember that whole thing with Connor that we found out after the fact? Yes, he broke his toe, but there was also a USADA thing there with him as well. So maybe it was something like that.
But to answer your question, short in a one-line answer, I think it's unfair to Renat specifically, but also it just shows the direction that this sport is headed. They're going more for fight of the night contenders and not dominant performances, interestingly enough.
I'll tell you my favorite theory that I heard yesterday, because again, we get all types of opinions on these things, whether it's justifying any move that the UFC does. But someone was like, well, with the whole Isaac Dulgarian thing, you saw that decision against Carlos Leal. I wonder if the FBI was involved and there was something going on. It was like, yeah, if there was line movement, like, what? I don't understand. Like, just like, there's going to be bad decisions. It's going to happen. You're going to have bad referee. I was in Vancouver when Matt Frevola and Kyle Nelson fought, and I thought, oh, Kyle Nelson won in the first round. Oh, wait, we're going to second round two? That looked weird. But again, there's no line movement there. So this idea that these fights are fixed, like, people just like, do your homework, please. Like, that's the whole point, is that if there's something fishy going on with betting lines, that's where you can start to look at things. And that's what made the Dulgarian thing so bad. So
no, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, one thing about the judging, the judges' decisions are just going to happen with a sport that relies quite literally on someone's interpretation of the rules. Very similar to like the strike zone in baseball. It is kind of case by case based on the umpire with the strike zone. Same thing with refs. I remember I know this is an amateur fight, but I had a fight where I won by split decision, and I had 30-27 my direction, 29-28 my direction, and then the other judge had 30-27 to the opponent. And so these guys are watching the fight, and three different judges can see a totally different fight based on their own biases. There's just inherently going to be errors and things you disagree with. It doesn't mean that everyone's fixed. You actually need some sort of evidence like line movement to justify saying that it's a fixed fight.
Yeah, totally agree. This is a good one. Going to get your thoughts on this. ESPN and MMA Junkie name Merab as male fighter of the year, deserved or not. I've done a fighter of the year video. I don't think if you lose a fight decisively like Merab did, you should be called fighter of the year. I absolutely commend Merab for trying to fight 4 times. I think he did the UFC a massive favor by taking that fight at the end of the year. I'm sorry, though. I can't call someone a fighter of the year if they've lost. Like, again, quick knockout, some like fluke thing that happened, maybe like a Pantoja Van situation or a controversial decision, maybe I'm willing to hear that argument. But you can't be fighter of the year if you lose, especially when you have fighters that won big fights, like Islam winning a second belt, Ilya winning a second belt. You could go Joshua Van even. I think Van is more warranted. He fought 4 times. And yes, the title win was not whatever, but a fluke title win is still better than a loss, in my opinion. What are your thoughts?
I agree with you. And I watched your video on that, and I was actually very close to considering Merab my fighter of the year until I heard your opinion on it. And the reason why is I think that with the loss, I still think he had the most success of a fighter. Of course, the last fight with Peter Yan detracts from that. So maybe he's not the fighter of the year, but he probably, in my opinion, had the best year of any fighter. I know that might sound like I'm just moving goalposts.
No, it's fine.
Islam, I know you said Islam was your fighter of the year, double champion, but also I saw some people saying that the Hanato Moicano win is not that legitimate because Hanato took it on such short notice. But I mean, Islam took the fight on 24 hours notice as well.
That's the part that I think people lose sight of. Like, I don't think fans, the general population of fans, I don't think they understand like how risky it is to fight a new opponent, especially on that short notice. It reminds me of the Diego Lopez and Dan Ige fight from a number of years ago. People are criticizing, oh, Diego Lopez, he slowed down, he looked terrible in that fight. It's like, yeah, he fought a new opponent on like 4 hours. Like, what do you think's going to happen? Imagine like preparing for someone and then they flip the script. So again, Moicano is an easier opponent, But then I could throw in, if you want to use that argument, and I'm not speaking about you specifically, but I've heard people use the, oh, Moy Campbell's not a good fighter argument. Is Sean O'Malley a top contender? I still have some questions about that. I know he's won a belt, but like, I'd say of all those opponents he's fought this year, O'Malley's the weakest of the bunch. I don't even think there's a guarantee that O'Malley beats Song Yadong coming up here next month. So that's, you know, again, if we're going to look at level of opposition, I don't think him beating O'Malley says as much about him beating Sandhagen and Umar. So that's another reason, you know, why I'm sort of leaning in the Islam direction. But again, each their own. It's all subjective, right? So
exactly. But I do agree with you. I've been such a big O'Malley fan because his fight style is fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But with his, I think that the stars, I'm starting to have doubts because I think that the stars may have aligned perfectly for him where they, I mean, if you saw that Roku documentary with Hunter Campbell, where all that, you know, behind the scenes stuff, they kind of had to finesse Aljo to take the O'Malley title fight on short notice.
You know, they lied in that, right? Like I actually did a video on this. If you go back and watch it. Okay. So Hunter Campbell, I have to, I'll you know what, I'll send you the video after, but okay. So, cause I know what happened behind the scenes. Hunter Campbell makes it out like Aljo accepts the fight with Sean O'Malley, and then they have the meeting, and they make it seem like Aljamain Sterling's having second thoughts about that. But that's not what happened. What actually happened was they announced the fight. Sterling didn't sign. They announced it as a way to put pressure on Sterling to take the fight, and that meeting was them convincing Aljo to take the fight, but he had never signed it. So in the episode, they make it look like he had second thoughts, but the reality was they forced him to take that fight.
Apparently they do that a lot where they announce it before the bout agreements
they
are
do
signed.
It all the time. Yeah.
But with O'Malley, the reason that I have doubts about him as a contender is I think that, you know, Aljo got rushed into that fight. I think he was thinking about surgery on something before taking that fight.
Cuts a lot of weight too. Yeah.
Cuts a lot of weight. And then the Cheeto Vera title defense, just an absolute layup. Like they throw that to him, but then Jack Della Maddalena's got to fight Islam in his first title defense.
Yeah,
and then Song Yadong truly going to cause problems. I can still see different paths to victory for O'Malley, especially with like the reach and the size advantage, but I'm worried about him in that fight. And I think that this is kind of like the point in his career where if he wins, they're going to try to finagle another title shot for him.
Oh no, he'll get the title shot. I have no doubt about that. And there was a video that came out yesterday with O'Malley talking about how like he's reignited because Jan's the champion and he has a win over him. And again, you kind of see where things are heading. If O'Malley wins, there's no doubt he's going to leapfrog Umar and even potentially a Merab trilogy, and he'll get the title shot. I have no doubt about that.
Yeah, and even before he got the title shot, the Peter Yan fight, I thought he lost.
Oh, dude, if you go on MMA Decisions right now and you go look at that, and again, that's not the be-all, end-all, but if you go to MMADecisions.com and you look at the media scorecards for Yan and O'Malley, I think one person scored the fight for O'Malley. It was like 27 media members scored it for Yan. It was one of the worst decisions, like especially with the implications. And then even before that, if you want to talk about like weird stuff that's happened in O'Malley's career, how about the fact that he poked Pedro Munoz in the eye? It was a no contest. They didn't even do the rematch. And it's not like Munoz was like looking terrible in that fight either. So O'Malley's had a weird run to his title. Like it hasn't been sort of your traditional, you know, sort of run to the top. But yeah, it's again, and I like O'Malley. I'm just, you know, we got to call it like it is. He's had an easier road than say Merab or some of these other fighters have.
Yeah, so he's almost in that same bucket as Bo Nickel, in my opinion, where they wanted to manufacture a star because of someone's social media presence or stuff like that. And to bring back the O'Malley point to Merab, I don't think in hindsight, him beating O'Malley twice is crazy impressive based on how O'Malley's career might look the rest of the way. I think that the second fight that like in June of this year basically just showed me that Merab has an inkling of finishing ability, you know, like, cause before then I was like, oh my God, 5-round decision of him kneeing somebody on the thigh and stuff like that. So him getting a second round finish over O'Malley, I was like, okay, I can get on the Merab train. Cause historically I have been a big Merab hater on my channel. Not that he's a bad guy, but his fight style drives me fucking nuts. At times.
No, I get it. Again, yeah, it's not for everyone, for sure. Don't let the numbers fool you guys. It's valuable. Hey, well, we're happy to do it. And I think we'll be doing more of these in the future. And that's something in 2026 I want to do more of, is get more people on here. Because as much as I love yapping, it's good to get, you know, the people in the community whose content I like and want to just kind of help out everyone. I think we should all merge our audiences as much as we can. What's up, Billy? Happy holidays to you as well. Hope all is good. Have you heard anything on Izzy's next fight? No, I was kind of going through the run of the gamut. Someone asked me this on the stream the other day. I think the only guy he could fight that's like a fresh matchup right now is Delidze. Like everyone else is booked. Like I don't want to see him fight Whitaker again. I know they had the close fight in the second one, but I honestly, I think they missed the boat not doing him and Strickland again, because that was such a massive upset, and you got two of the bigger names. And you know, I've talked to people close to Strickland, and they're like, he probably wouldn't beat him again. So it's like, I don't think Strickland wants to do that. And then I've heard on the other side where it's like, you know, I don't know if the UFC's like super happy with Strickland. My understanding was they were pretty upset with the DDP fight, hence him being shelved. Obviously, got suspended too. What would you like to see next for Izzy? Because there just aren't many options right now. Or do you give him like a Joe Pyfer and let's build up another guy?
I think that the vet move that Dana White likes is the kind of Vince McMahon style of quote unquote putting someone over, where the aging vet needs, like even John Cena just lost to Gunther in his, I'm not necessarily a big WWE fan, but I see the headlines.
Yeah,
and, you know, putting somebody over, you know, to put over that next generation, I think is something that Izzy should have to do at some point, because there was people like Derek Brunson.
Well, they did it for him when he fought Anderson Silva.
Exactly. And that ended up being a pay-per-view main event, you know? But what I'd like to see for Izzy is I would have liked to see the Strickland fight. I thought that would have been a perfect co-main event to the Australia card at 325. But I think Dolidze, based on the matchups that are already made, and there's not really a whole lot available, I think Dolidze is a really approachable matchup. He's not going to, you know, put Izzy out on the feet the way that Imavov did. I don't think that Dolidze has the best wrestling. I think he has really tricky jiu-jitsu. We saw him, you know, get that like calf slicer TKO back take against Hermanson. But I think he needs an approachable fight. Somebody that doesn't have a whole lot of KO power in their hands. Somebody that's going to kind of chase him around the ring. And I'm not saying Dolidze is bad, but I think that Dolidze, skill for skill, is not on the same level as Izzy, and that's a really approachable fight for him. And I kind of wanted even when the Strickland fight didn't happen, and they booked him against Hernandez, I was kind of hoping for maybe like a Paulo Costa rematch, but now he's booked against Bruno Ferreira.
Yeah.
So I'd say Dolidze makes the most sense for Izzy's career if he still wants to win and work towards a title. If he wants fun fights, give him like Michael Venom Page or something like that. That'd be a fun fight.
Yeah, that's another one. Of course, we're waiting to hear is Page fighting at middleweight or welterweight next. We still don't know that sort of thing. Prediction for Yoel Romero Bo Nickel wrestling match. I mean, I would think Romero's going to be a lot bigger, right? Like I know Nickel fight Nickel. There's people talking about Nickel going to welterweight after losing to Ritter. I mean,
I talked about that too.
Good. Yeah, I think I'd probably go Romero. I know Nickel is younger and all that, but I don't know. Romero doesn't look like he's slowing down at all. I watched that match on the weekend.
Yeah, I think it's crazy. Romero being, I think, 45 years old at this point. He's doing this wrestling match against Bo Nickel on January 10th. And then 3 or 4 weeks later, he's fighting in the co-main event of BKFC's Knucklemania against Lorenzo Hunt. Crazy. This guy was made in a lab or something to be competing at this level at 45 years old. But to be honest, I don't watch a whole lot of, you know, wrestling in general, whether that be like the WWE style or that be like this right here, like the legitimate wrestling, I guess. So I don't know if I have much of a take. I would say size-wise, Romero probably. I just watched him wrestle somebody else, and he looked really good.
Yeah, well, and also like Luke Rockhold's fighting Colby Covington, like that again. Rockhold's so much bigger than Colby. Colby's another guy, possibly could have gone down to lightweight. Luke Rockhold's fought at 205. I was at that fight against him and Blachowicz.
Oh yeah.
Merry Christmas, hooligans. Yeah, Wyatt got in the hat on here. I got my Street Fighter Christmas shirt. Showed it to my sister all these years ago. Who got me this one. It still holds up. Actually, you can't even buy this one anymore. It's from a company called, I think, Skull something. I forget, but it's a rare collector's item, which is great.
That's
Prime
awesome,
Usman, Current Islam would have been such a good fight. I agree. I totally agree. But we're not getting Prime Usman. That's another thing. Like, I think that people that are advocating for the Usman fight, they're like, yeah, but remember him knocking out Masvidal and Burns? And I was like, yeah, dude, that was in like 2019. Like, like he's older. Like, he's got to be worse than what he was before. And I know he looked good in the Buckley fight, but yeah, I think Islam wins that. No problem.
Me too.
Happy Christmas, Merry Christmas to you as well, Dean. How do you see Usman Islam going? What type of game plan would Islam use against Usman? Would be able to take him down like he did with others? I do think he can. Yeah, I think the takedowns would be harder. He's obviously got good takedown defense. Actually, even looking at his stats here, I just want to have a quick look at that. I feel like it would be interesting. Also, Usman's fairly strong for the weight class as well. But I'm leaning decision. Yeah, Usman 89% takedown defense. So that's pretty interesting.
That does make that.
Yeah.
Yeah, though that kind of does sway maybe a little bit sway my opinion. But you know, Islam, especially at 170, we've seen he has a 5-round gas tank, and it almost looked like in the Jack Della Maddalena fight that he had been like operating at 60% capacity at lightweight because of the weight cut, because he is a big guy. So see him against JDM, he looked massive. He had the cardio for 5 rounds. I know it wasn't the most exciting performance, but it was an amazing performance because he absolutely dominated and neutralized somebody who in Jack Della Maddalena beat on Bilal Muhammad, who has a fairly similar wrestling style to Islam. And so it could have been like, I picked a JDM in that fight. In hindsight, that was a terrible pick, but
dude, I've had some pretty bad picks this year myself. like I did have Islam in that one, but there was one I was like totally wrong on. I can't remember what it was, but
yeah, I could see Islam. I think Islam on top of the wrestling is way more well-rounded on the feet as well. I know like the KO against Volkanovski, he stayed on the feet for a large portion of the Poirier fight. I know Poirier landed some big shots, but Usman is a very meat and potatoes type of striker. Almost no kicks, jab, cross, hook. That's essentially his striking. And so let's just say that their wrestling neutralizes each other. I think Islam is very far ahead in the striking realm.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Prime Marty would beat Islam, probably. Is it bad? I was watching asleep JDM Islam, watching entire DDP Khamzat fight. I mean, I don't think either were boring. I think, you know, my take on those fights are play to your strengths, get the win. You know, it's not going to go down as an all-time great fight, but like yesterday I had someone in my comments being like, so then you must have liked Carlos Esparza and Rose Namajunas. I was like, no, those had no action in those fights. These, at least there were takedowns and like whatever, like you're just seeing two high-level wrestlers. So yeah, I mean, if we had to make a list of like the worst fights, I don't think Khamzat and DDP and Islam and JDM would even be in like the top 5. There's so many, like, I don't think fans have known. If you've watched fighting as long as I have, like, it's, I mean, there's go watch some of those Anderson Silva title defenses against like Damian Maia and Talis Latis. Those were way worse than what we saw.
I mean, for example, Adesanya and Yoel Romero, they stared at each other for 25 minutes.
Fight. Yeah.
I think that
Derek Lewis. Yeah.
I think with those type of fights, because I was very critical of DDP and Khamzat, and I think that the DDP and Khamzat fight is slightly different from JDM Islam, because Islam, in my opinion, was at least trying to finish the fight for the entire 25 minutes. He went for that like modified Darce that he got Poirier and Moicano with. He went for that multiple times. He went for a straight arm lock on JDM. Khamzat, I feel like, was a little bit more, I guess, accepting of just making it to the final bell, which he dominated the fight. But I think that where my critique came in was the lack of urgency to finish the fight, where DDP almost, you know, kind of turned the tide in that last minute or two, ended up kind of, you know, he fell off of the back of Khamzat, but he ended up getting his back. I think Islam was a better fight because he tried to finish the fight. I think Khamzat, deeper in that fight, had no sense of urgency to finish. I mean, if you're up by 4 rounds, I get it, but JDM Islam was a much better fight than the other one.
The boys collab. Let's go. Yes, sir. Demore isn't even a good boxer. Take out no excuses. Totally agree. Merry Christmas to you both. Do you believe the fans will accept the new era popular fights that lack meritocracy? Yeah, I think unfortunately, and the reason I say this is because every time I do a video criticizing the UFC, there's always like, I don't know if they work for, I don't know if they're like unofficial UFC PR people, but like the amount of people who defend the UFC's bad decisions is just staggering to me. From the amount of events they do, people are like, well, what else are you going to watch on the weekend? Oh, I don't know, regional MMA. There's so many other promotions out there. Look what Octagon's doing over there in Europe, KSW, One Championship, PFL. Like there's so many other organizations that you could watch if you need a break from the UFC. They do too many events, and then stuff like them cutting fighters. Like fans can't wait to talk about how bad a fighter was, and it's like, again, I don't think Renat's that bad. Like again, there's certain fighters that aren't UFC ready, but Renat's not one of them. So I just think that I do see a lot of pushback online, but unfortunately people are still, watching until the viewership goes down and the ticket sales goes down, UFC is going to continue doing what they want.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like when you're growing up and your parents are trying to like make you eat your vegetables. They're like, you're going to eat this and you're going to fucking like it. That's how the UFC is with these matchups. And I think that the reason for the popularity matchups versus the meritocracy matchups is mostly because they know that the hardcore fans, or even people like you and me that work in the space, we're going to be around, whether it's feast or famine. We're going to be around for the fights for the most part. And I think that now they're trying to go for the younger generation, the Sean O'Malley fans, the Aiden Ross fans, the Nelk Boys fans, and those people don't really care that much about the nuts and bolts of the sport. They care about, wow, this is such a big fight. Paddy Pimblett's fighting for the belt, even though he's beaten a bunch of 40-year-olds that are 0-13 or whatever they are in their last few fights. The fans will accept it. I mean, because people like you and me are just going to watch regardless, in my opinion. And then the newer fans are going to be like, hell yeah, Paddy Pimblett, Paddy the Batty. I know him from Instagram. So I think, unfortunately, we're being force-fed those fights, and the fans will accept them.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Who wins in a boxing match only, Jake Paul or current Yoel Romero? That's interesting, actually. That would be close, I think, because Romero's got good boxing, right?
I will say, dude, Jake Paul impressed me. It wasn't the most exciting fight, and I put a little bit of stock into people saying that Joshua carried him a little bit. He lasted longer than Francis Ngannou did. You know,
yeah, I know.
It is impressive to a certain degree.
We should mention though, for context, like Joshua had a long layoff coming into that fight, right? So I think
True.
like it took him a bit to kind of find his footing, but I think Romero could win that because he still could. Like it's like he's been active, he's still looking good. I know he had the wrestling match, but I'd probably go Romero. I think it would be close though. I think Paul's not a bad boxer, but I just think that. He does like he's not on the level of like a Joshua, and obviously that was a different weight class too. But he's somewhere in the middle of that. I think like he's not bad, right?
I think he's the level of a very good amateur that just turned pro. Like that's the level he's at, in my opinion.
Yeah, well said. Do you think Dustin Poirier has a boxing debut with Zupin? Ooh, I haven't thought of that. Maybe. I mean, he also strikes me as a guy that like isn't he having another kid? Like I think his wife is all about like. Let's move on from combat sports.
Yeah, they just had the kid, I think.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'll say no because I think Poirier is one of those guys who does seem like he wouldn't be, need to come back or anything. But you never know.
I don't think he does either. He's gotten 2 McGregor paydays. He's fought for the belt more than once. He's not. I mean, I hate to say it, but he's not like a Tony Ferguson. That whether it be because they still have that itch or whether it be because they need the money. I don't think Poirier comes back for just like some maybe for a Nate Diaz fight because he never got that one. But aside from that, I really don't see him fighting again.
Which division is going to be the most marquee, most popular, welterweight, lightweight, or another one? I mean, it probably is going to be welterweight just because if you look at all the contenders all the sharks that are circling in that division of some of the contenders that you have, not to mention you could throw a wrench in this whole thing and if they let Ilya move up. So I think welterweight would be my answer.
Me too. I say welterweight because of how deep the division is. You got people like Prates, Morales, Ian Gary, even who else? Brady with a couple wins could get back in the title picture too. I think there's a lot more fresh matchups with big names. Then at lightweight, we're getting like recycled matchups. We got Poirier and Holloway for the 3rd time this year. Oliveira, Holloway for the 2nd time. And most of those stars, Holloway, Oliveira, Poirier already retired, Gaethje, those guys are going to be out of the sport in the next 2 years. And I know that Topuria and Patty can carry a division, but you can't just have them fight each other 5 times. And going from Oliveira, Gaethje, Oliveira, McGregor even to, not saying these guys aren't good fighters, but Benoit Saint-Denis, Faris Siam, these guys are amazing fighters, but not the same star power. So that's why I would say welterweight.
Yeah, that's true. And another name that could enter the fray this year, you never know, is Conor. I said it before. If he comes back and fights Chandler and wins, there's no doubt that, especially in this new Paramount era, he could get the title shot against Islam with all that bad blood with him and Habib. Tuivasa is still in the UFC, yet lost 5 in a row. Yeah, that's, again, it's a business at the end of the day. Playing Mark Shapiro for all this. Isn't Mark Shapiro the Blue Jays general manager? Or president, I think.
He might be, but the Mark Shapiro he's referring to is the COO for TKO. He's the guy. Okay. He does these like quarterly calls, and he's gotten a lot of flack because he said that there's no difference for the fans from the Apex to crowded fight nights. He says they want to do that guy. Yeah.
Well said.
He's only worried about the bottom line.
Armin Saryukin is debuting at Real American Freestyle 5 on January 10th versus Lance Palmer. What are their thoughts on Armin having to take grappling fights while pissing contests going on with? I mean, it's silly, but I blame Armin for this as well because I know he wants to keep active, but like go and do your interviews, do your whatever. He should be fighting anyone in the lightweight division right now. Like fight Gamrot. Like there's a history there. You lost a controversial decision. Like fight him. You're getting him at the best time. He's coming off a brutal loss. Take this fight. Like that's him doing all this will not help his standing with the UFC. I have no interest in watching, like, isn't he supposed to grapple Cheryl Bullet here soon? And then now this American, or did that get canceled? Now he's doing this. I don't even know if he's doing both.
He's been doing grappling matches every like 2 weeks. He did one against the ACA lightweight champion like 2 weeks ago. Then he's got Shara coming up, and then he's got this on January 10th. So he's doing like 3 matches in a month.
I mean, yeah, it's I don't really I get Armin trying to be active, but like he's not doing it in the right way. Like try and fight. trying
You're
to
a
get,
UFC fighter fighting the UFC.
Yeah, fighting the UFC, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's how you're going to get in the good graces. And I know there's still fans out there being like, well, you shouldn't have to do any. It's like, yeah, but this is how the rules are laid out. Dana's already said, like, he's going to have to fight again or whatever. So just fight and get it over with, and then hopefully this all works out for him.
I mean, for example, Dan Hooker just lost to Arman Sarukian, and because he agrees to stay active, he's getting Benoit Saint-Denis in a co-main event of a numbered card. Tell him you'll fight Gamrot. Tell him you'll fight Mauricio Huffy. Like, just throw a ranked name out there, win one or two more fights, and the fans, as much as he in the fans' eyes is not very liked, the fans will back you if you are undeniable. I mean, even like a Bilal, he's not the most popular guy, but he won like 9 or 10 fights in a row. He got a title shot, and just stay active, get wins.
Hot take: RDR will retire from the sport next year. Maybe. I mean, he's older, right? Like, he's what,
35, something like that.
35. I think he might not retire. Yeah, he's 35. He'll be 36. Maybe.
I think he wants. Not to pocket watch fighters, but he only had like 3 or 4 fights. I think title fights in one. I think he probably still wants to squeeze more paychecks out of his career than just next year. That's why he fought 5 times in 11 months.
Yeah, that's a good point. Fell asleep, not feel. Yeah, I know what you meant. Merry Christmas to you. How do you see the Nunes-Harrison fight playing out? I still got to do my breakdown in this. I think Nunes can win this.
I do too.
And it boils down to this theory I have that I'm going to be sticking with, and that is I think Kayla cuts too much weight, and I think when you cut a lot of weight, you're more susceptible to getting knocked out, and I don't think she's fought a girl that has the power like Amanda Nunes has. And if you look at, you know, I mean, you're basically like, I'm kind of betting on the fact that we're seeing a similar Nunes that we saw beat the brakes off Irene Aldana, which again, it was in Vancouver where I live. So I got to watch that right up and close. I don't think Nunes has just been sleeping on the couch the last, a couple of years. Like I assume she's been training. So we'll see. I mean, the one thing you got to worry about with Kayla is obviously the strength, but like size-wise, there's not much of a difference. Even age-wise, I think people forget Kayla's 35. Like, it's just not just she's like some 20-year-old phenom or anything like that. Like, she did all that when she was in her judo career. So I think the fight's going to be fairly close. And yeah, I think if it stays on the feet, because Amanda's got good takedown defense. If you look at the stats, again, I think it's in the high 80s. I think it's like 81% takedown defense. So if she's able to keep this on the feet, how do you not go with Nunes? So I'm leaning Nunes on that one.
I'm leaning Nunes. You know, as we get older, it gets harder and harder to, cut weight. We get bigger as we get older. And Kayla Harrison competed in the Olympics at 172 and now all the way down to 135. I swear her weight cuts, she probably has to diet for 3-4 months to even get within like the ballpark of 135. And if you look at her UFC opponents, Holly Holm, undersized compared to Kayla Harrison, Ketlin Vieira, not on the same level. Juliana Pena, I know she's a big name for the women's divisions, but not the most skilled and not the most physical. Amanda Nunes touching her chin, also considering that this Amanda Nunes is the person that knocked out Cyborg, who is massive for a female weight class.
Huge. Yeah.
I don't think she's going to struggle with Kayla Harrison's size, and I think I agree with you. The weight cut could severely affect Kayla's chin because it hasn't been tested at all.
Lazy Bed. By the way, shout out to Lazy Bed who's in our Discord. Love having you in there. By the way, let me know. I'll hit you up after if you want to come join our Discord. We got a
absolutely
community going on there. We'll maybe we could figure that out. Any takes on Derek Lewis claiming Rico Verhoeven turned down a fight against him? If true, do you think it was contractual? I've heard the same thing. I heard they've been trying to get Rico on that card, and I can't confirm if he turned down that fight or not, but I do know it seems like he's going to be in the UFC next. I heard this about a month ago from people that are well in the know. So I think that, I think it was true from what I've been hearing. Why would he turn down Lewis? I don't know. That seems like a very stylistically good matchup for him. You're fighting another striker, and you're a lot more mobile and fast than the guy you're fighting. So I don't know why you wouldn't take that.
And it's a high-profile matchup in Derek Lewis, too. I think PFL is going to make a run for Rico, too. I think they
should.
They've had ideas because they even they have a new guy that's in charge at PFL, that John Martin. He is doing most of the decision-making compared to Don Davis. And I was very critical of Don Davis. I didn't think he was the right guy for the role.
Like just so many mistakes when he, like, especially on social media, like always bringing up the UFC and there's so many things that
dude, funny enough, me and Don Davis have gone back and forth a little bit on LinkedIn. He's like a LinkedIn keyboard warrior where he defends the PFL on LinkedIn, and nobody looks at LinkedIn. I use it for the sake of reaching out to potential sponsors and stuff, but I see his takes on there and I'm like, ooh, I leave like paragraphs in his comments on LinkedIn. But I think that they really, really badly want to retain Francis Ngannou, And I think a Rico fight is a big enough name to try and bring some sort of attention to it, because the other option's Vadim Nemkov, and that isn't, while it's a compelling fight, skill-wise and matchup-wise, popularity-wise, marketing-wise, it's not the biggest fight compared to Rico.
I don't think Francis even takes that fight. I think he
You
still
don't think
thinks
so?
he's going to get a boxing fight. I get that sense that I don't think he's going to fight for PFL again. I think he's trying to secure some sort of boxing fight. And you know, he got rid of his manager. It's like the whole thing's like it's not looking good for him. So we'll see.
Well, he went and burned every bridge for no reason. Yeah, he's talking about the UFC while he's still with PFL, and then when he was with the UFC, he's talking about boxing. I think he really, in my opinion, this is just my opinion. I'm not sorry not to spread my propaganda on your channel.
No, there's no propaganda. I think we probably have the same view on this.
I think he scammed the hell out of the PFL. I think he scammed them for a massive payday and the boxing option. And that's why Dana didn't want him around. I think for everything I've seen is that he's a terrible guy to work with on the business side. And he burned his own bridge. I don't even feel bad for him. He burned all these bridges himself.
Yeah, no, I agree on that. John Jones wouldn't have taken that fight with an opponent changed so quickly. Oh, I remember he wasn't John Jones offered Dan Henderson and he turned it down all those years ago, and they had to like switch up the main event, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah,
it was Dan Henderson pulled out and he turned down Chael Sonnen.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
and that led to like the tough season and all that.
Yeah, that's true. It has to be contractual. UFC lowballed Rico, methinks. Yeah, I mean, that could happen too. They've certainly lowballed a lot of fighters that have shown interest in the UFC. Do you think the White House card happens now that a lot of fighters are distancing themselves from the card, like Islam and Strickland, because of the ongoing political events? I don't think that's a thing. I think at the end of the day, it's about money. It's about I can't see maybe Islam stands on his principles and is like, I mean, I actually haven't heard that Islam said he won't fight in the White House card, but no, I think I pretty much every fighter I've interviewed over the last, since they talked about doing a White House card, 99% of them have been like, yeah, I want on that card. So they're not going to have trouble making a card for that. Absolutely. It's not going to be 8 title fights. So that's just Trump being Trump.
It's going to be 0 in my opinion. I think it's going to be a McGregor main event with some cool matchups underneath
with another BMF title in a different division or something along those
lines.
lines.
Exactly. But Islam, I guess Ali said that Khabib said no on behalf of Islam. And then Strickland said he doesn't want to fight in front of the Epstein list. That's why he won't be on it. And then I think Brandon Royval said that it was quote unquote some Hunger Games shit and that he doesn't want to fight, and he wants to fight in front of real MMA fans, which is kind of based on Brandon Royval to pick the fans over that massive card if he was offered it,
This is a good question from gentlemen. 2010 to 2019 UFC welterweight division versus 23-26 welterweight division, which is most impressive? I mean, 2010 would have still had GS. When did GSP retire the first time? I always forget. When was the Hendricks fight? Let me just look this up. Because I was going to say, if St. Pierre's in that mix, the answer would be the earlier one, I think.
I agree.
Having St. Pierre in there alone is, I'm not just saying that because you got the poster in the background and that I'm Canadian, but when was the Hendricks fight? Was 2013. Oh, yeah, so St. Pierre still would have been around then.
I'm taking the earlier one.
You had St. Pierre, you had John Fitch was really good, Koscheck, Dan Hardy, Thiago Alves, Diego Sanchez was making some noise for a bit in that division. Rory McDonald, Robbie Lawler, Johnny Hendricks. I mean, compared to now, it's, I'd have to go the earlier one for sure.
I mean, Usman defended against Colby twice and Masvidal twice. Those are not the best title defenses, in my opinion. I'm taking the earlier welterweight division compared to 23 to 26. That could change with the state of the division right now. Islam goes on a run, beats some really high-level contenders. That could change my opinion in the next 2 years. But right now, I'd say the earlier one.
Do you think Mokaev will ever be in the UFC again, and should he get a new manager? He's been trying to get a new manager. I heard some rumblings that he might be either close to signing or has been in talks with Tiki Gozan, who manages a bunch of fighters from Brian Ortega to Dominic Reyes to he has a pretty decent stable. Paulo Costa are some of them. I think Sterling's with him as well. So we'll see if that happens. Of course, he was with Tim Simpson. I don't think him and Ali, unless Ali sort of ends that grudge with him. But there was a whole thing about how Mokaev signed with Paradigm instead of Ali, and Ali took it very personally because obviously Paradigm is with McGregor and they have their whole feud. So I don't. Will he ever be in the UFC? I could see it happening, but again, what I've tried to argue with a lot of people is it wasn't just that he didn't fight maybe how they wanted. It was the behind the scenes stuff we just talked about with Ngannou. Mokaev was similar, where there was a lot of I guess the way he would treat employees and things along those lines. And again, we're talking about a younger fighter here. Obviously you can mature as you get older, but that I think is the big one. How is he going to be dealing? How will he be able to deal with the UFC behind the scenes? Is that something they're willing to work on? We'll see. I mean, flyweight's getting more popular, and it seems like a division they're actually investing in now. So I could see him come back, but I don't know. We'll see. And I do want to point out one other quick thing. The guy he just beat in Brave, I know he had a good record, but if you actually go and look at who that guy's fought, he's fought a bunch of cans. So good for him for getting the finish. You know, I saw a lot of people being like, get this guy in the UFC, but it's like, you got to dig a little bit deeper, guys, when it comes to opponents. Like, I think we do this too much where we look at the performance and not the opponents. So,
yeah, a lot of guys get fed cans on the regional scene, especially when they're trying, if they have a good manager and they're trying to get back to the UFC, they're going to fight a weak name on a good regional promotion to boost them up. I could see him back in the UFC, but I just think that the UFC, when you're not a draw, they don't play nice to out of the cage issues. And he literally like jumped Manel Kopp in London before that fight that he got cut. When you're not like for example, Khamzat causes some problems and some controversy outside of the cage. Like they had to cancel a press conference, all that stuff. But Khamzat's a draw. Makhayev's not necessarily a draw. And if he's over here jumping his opponent 3 days before the fight and then goes on and puts on a bad performance, it's not a good look. So, I mean, maybe, he's young. He's like 23, 24. Maybe they say, he was young and dumb. We can give him one more chance. But when you're hard to work with, the UFC is just not going to play nice with you,
Yep.
Unless you're McGregor.
We got about 10 minutes left here on the chat, so we'll try and get through these questions as quickly as we can. We'll kind of keep these answers short. What are you guys doing for Christmas? Big day with my kids tomorrow. Going to go see my mom, grandparents, all that stuff. So big day for me tomorrow. And then I got like a big brunch with like my sister a couple days later. She's got 2 kids. And then I got my birthday on the 31st, and I'm going to see a junior hockey game on the 30th. So that's my holiday plans. What about you? You said a lot of family stuff. You don't have to go into detail. We got some weird people out there.
Yeah, no, I get you.
Yeah.
It's going to be pretty low key. Me, my twin brother, and my parents for Christmas. My sister lives a few hours away and just had a child, so she's not going to be driving down to visit. And then, my girlfriend's in Europe with her mom, so I'm pretty much just chilling. I'm doing Christmas, Christmas Eve tonight with the family, and then we typically go see we'll go see a movie on Christmas Day. So we'll likely go see Marty Supreme or something like that. One of the new movies that's out this weekend.
Yeah, no, that's
pretty low
awesome.
key though. Nothing too crazy.
By the way, fun fact, I might have mentioned this on your show, but did you know that California has the same population as Canada?
Really?
Yeah.
I saw that they just passed up some country to be the 3rd biggest economy in the world, California.
Yeah, no, I'd believe it. Yeah, a lot going on there.
Wow.
Do you think they will skip Umar as he's fighting Figueroa after fighting Mario? I mean, if O'Malley beats Song, they're going to give O'Malley the title shot, I think.
True.
If O'Malley loses, I think then they do Umar.
True.
I think Merab's not going to get the trilogy next. I don't think that happens.
I think if O'Malley wins, we could see O'Malley Peter Yan as the White House main event if McGregor doesn't pan out.
Yep. Well said. Been hearing DraftKings sponsorships are expiring for several MMA podcasts. I've also heard the UFC and DK may be parting ways in favor of Kalshi or Polymarket. Yeah, Polymarket seems to be like a big thing these days. I see them everywhere.
Polymarket's taking DraftKings' place in 2026 with the UFC as the betting partner. They already announced that contract.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and those platforms, not whether it be betting or someone else, they tend to run like 18 months to like a year or two basically on sponsorships before they feel that they've tapped out your audience and move on.
By the way, City Life, sorry, I missed these. Phil DeFries, the only guy that Francis needs to fight. If he fights, again, I think Francis is looking at boxing. I don't think he's going to fight MMA again anytime soon. Mokaev is a bigger duck than John Jones. Well, I don't think Mokaev ducked. Oh, okay, well, you know better than me, City Life. Is he ducking guys in Brave? I don't think. Is that the case? I don't know what's going on there or what he's been up to, but just wanted to ask that as well. Okay, let's keep moving along here. Yeah, we'll keep an eye on the DraftKings things. That's interesting. Have a feeling going to do Izzy MVP. I hope so. What's up, Izzy? Is it true Khamzat doesn't want to fight Imavov? No, that quote got taken out of context. I did a whole video on this where like they ended the quote where Chimaev says, I don't want to fight him. But what they say is, I don't want to fight him because he's a Muslim and they like it would be his first choice. But he said, but then he says in the quote after, if the UFC calls, I'll answer it.
Yep.
Like, so he's willing to fight him. That's all fake news, as they say.
Yep.
In a wrestling match, can Yoel really beat Bo? I wouldn't put it past him. Romero's a soldier of God, for sure. What's unlikely to happen? What's the most unlikely fight to happen in the UFC that will actually happen? Oh, geez.
I don't know. Part of me still holds out hope for McGregor coming back and fighting for a belt at some point.
That would be my answer, too. Yeah, I agree. Filthy Animals. Home Alone 2, better than Home Alone 1. I would agree with that. God bless. Physique. Yeah, that's true. Why would Islam want an Usman fight? That's a very bad style for him. I think he looks, I mean, if you're Islam, you won't say this publicly, but you're looking at a guy who's close to 40s, one of the older fighters in the division. You probably know him very well, seeing as in how, like, you guys have the same manager. There's been a lot of, I'm sure they've trained together before, all that type of stuff. So I think he probably knows, like, look, like, do I want to fight him or do I want to fight against a guy like, and people disagree with me here, a guy like Ian Gary, where Gary, say what you want, he's a pretty smart fighter. He knows how to win. He knows how to game plan really well. I think Usman would be an easier fight just based off the ages. Because again, Gary's getting better every fight. So
yeah, I agree with you.
Islam was faster than Jack. That's true. Looking back at Usman's career, do you think he's overrated? Kind of talked about that already. Here we go. Thoughts on Ngannou, Jake Paul, if that ever happens?
Okay, well, obviously Jake Paul would get his head knocked off, pretty similar to the way that Anthony Joshua did. And I think that Francis wouldn't be as patient because Francis isn't the same like cerebral boxer that Joshua is. I mean, I know I just said that Jake Paul did better against Joshua than Francis Ngannou, but let's not go too far here and say that Jake Paul has any shot in that fight. It's Francis Ngannou. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, he'd get his head knocked off his shoulders if he fought Ngannou. But hey, go get another $90 million payday. That's the rumored payday for Jake Paul. If you want to go get 10 figures or whatever, 8 figures, go get it, man. Whatever.
Yeah, that's why I don't think Jake Paul deserves any sort of praise for fighting Joshua. Like anyone would fight for $90 million, I think.
I'd do it for a cheeseburger. No, I'm just joking.
Who is better, BJJ, Islam, or Khamzat? I'll leave that to you. You're the technical guy.
I would say Islam. Islam actually has more finishing ability with Khamzat. Khamzat has very, very good open mat wrestling, like traditional freestyle wrestling. Islam, being a Sambo guy, Sambo actually has submissions and a little bit more ground game. So I'd definitely say Islam.
New era fights that lack meritocracy. That's been the operation for well over a decade. Well, it has, but I think it's like even worse now. Like obviously, like we had like the Chael Sonnen title fight against John Jones, if you remember, like after coming off the loss. Like we've had weird stuff like that, but it's becoming more common now. Like I feel like you could point to like, you know, over the last year, you could probably point to like 4 or 5 title shots over the last year that maybe weren't like deserving. Whereas like back in the day, you'd get like one every like, I don't know, like it'd be like one every like 2 years or something. It was much different.
Yeah.
So
gone are the days of Dana White trying to convince people that it's a legitimate sport. People accept that now. And so now they just want the biggest names possible.
Ngannou Lewis's most disappointing fight, agree or disagree? Yeah, probably because it's heavyweight.
Yeah, agreed.
I would say so. $7 billion. You think the good fighters wouldn't be cut? Again, they're more entertainment there as well. Who would you pick in a fight between Lewis and Rico? I'd take Rico in that fight.
Yeah, me too.
Is Paramount deal while we're being forced, the cards are being forced so far, or is it the White House? Is the Paramount deal while we are being forced the cards, we are being forced so far? I don't know. You got to reword that question.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
Khamzat went for a couple of rear naked chokers and Doris during the fight, but DDP did enough to defend. That's true. Feel like Jake only did good because he hugged, possibly. What are your thoughts on Jake Paul and his team threatening to sue those that thought his match with Oshu? I mean, that's dumb to try and sue them, but listen, every fight you always get people come out and say, "Oh, it was rigged," or "I don't watch this stuff because it's rigged." It's like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, talking about lawsuits in combat sports is kind of lame to me.
Were there moments? There were moments where Khamzat was waiting for DDP to give an inch of a neck to go for a choke. DDP was aware and stayed defensive. That we should give DDP some credit for his defensive ground game. I thought that was good.
True.
Some fighters would have tuck. This is cool. Yeah, we'll hopefully be doing more of this in the new year. Where does Islam rank of all time? He's right up there. I hate doing the greatest of all time because
he's top 5 probably.
Yeah, I'd say so. Silva Mai's the most disappointing fight ever. It's right up there. I think DDP was in defensive mode. No kidding. Marab got fight of the year. Makes no sense. We already talked about it. It's like comparing Ngannou and Paul against Joshua. Only one was surviving. The other one was just straight to slaughter. Correct. What's your MMA resolution for 2026? A trap you've promised yourself to no longer fall into in 2026 when it comes to the sport. Ooh. Well, I think for a while it was knowing that John Jones is not going to come back and fight. I still maintain that, and I'm gonna stick with that. What's a trap I won't fall into?
I promised myself like 6 months ago I was done believing in a McGregor comeback, and here I am about to be in 2026, still hoping for it. But aside from that, I mean, I don't know, picking against Islam because I've done that a few times now.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, mine would be, geez, I don't know. Like, I think probably just not being surprised anymore about some of the matchmaking. Like, I'll still complain about it, but as far as like resolutions, like just not like, I could not believe they did Diego Lopez and Volk again. I was like, what? Like, come on. Like, you got Volk to wait an entire year just for him to fight the same guy he just beat. Like,
they should have done Mobsar. Yeah, Mobsar or Lerone Murphy.
Lerone Murphy, yeah, exactly. Jake relied on his movement more, but barely engaged. Nagano was there to be hit. Both different approaches. Fair enough. DDP's game plan was survive, while JDM looked unprepared or thought his old tricks would help him again like he did against Burns. I guess that's true.
Fair enough.
A lot of trolls today. Oh, well, I mean, listen, we do a collab together. You're going to get trolls from all different angles. So I appreciate that, Izzy. Good for staying on top of that. Okay, we'll keep going through these. I know we're almost at the hour here. Let's do a little rapid fire.
Yeah,
lightweight.
Cool. I'm cool with whatever you want to do. I'm not in a rush.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll try and get through most of these. I think we should be able to do it today. Lightweight has big names, Ilya, Patty, but there's a lot of politics there. Bantamweight, welterweight, and middleweight are more stacked, in my opinion. We'll see. Again, the lot could change. I mean, if you think about where the divisions are at this very moment right now, and if you went back to January and you told us all the changes, like Joshua Van being champ, like Merab beating Umar, but then losing to Jan, like all these things that I think a lot of people didn't expect to happen. Who's better grappling, Jacare or Maya? I mean, overall grappling, I still probably go Maya. I mean,
me too. He had better wrestling too.
Yeah. Gary Shavkat too. No, I don't think they'll do that.
Nah.
I don't have interest in that. There's still a huge portion of fans who do not want Armin to get the title shot. I know. Again, they're the UFC can do no wrong. I swear to God, if there's ever, I don't mean to get too extreme here, but if there was ever like a murder for plot thing that involved Dana White, they would take Dana's side and they would say the guy deserved it. I know there's fans out there that would do that. You just know that's going to happen. Some weird guy in the chat. Izzy, you missed this guy. I'm just going to get this guy out of here. Does Nunes Pena 3 happen if Nunes wins?
The guy that you just banned, he puts weird stuff in my chat all the time.
Oh, don't worry. I already did the old Patrick Ewing.
There you go.
Boxed him out. Does Nunes Pena 3 happen if Nunes wins? No, Pena. No, I don't. Pena's going to have to win another fight. She can't get a title shot off a loss. True. Pena never fights either. That's another issue that she has.
It's like once a year, maybe.
Fight Society's video about Kayla Arias interview so great. Yeah, all this stuff's good. Go again, guys. If you're off here, if you need some stuff to watch, again, I'll be posting every day throughout the holidays. But if you need an alternative, I feel like Fight Society and I are very much on the same wavelength with a lot of stuff.
Thank you.
This is Natalia Silva's fighting Rose. Who does Valentina defend against next? I think she waits for the winner, right?
Yeah,
of that fight. And
or she talked about going up to 35. Maybe she tries to fight the winner of Harrison and Nunes. That could be
a fight, actually. Yeah, you could do Valentina and Nunes because there's history there, and their second fight was fairly close. So that's true. Good point there. What are the chances Rico fights Joshua for a huge bag and then signs with the UFC? I mean, I don't think that's if I'm being honest, I don't think, and I don't know why this is the case, but kickboxers don't have the same appeal as like UFC fighters do. So I don't even know if Joshua's into that fight because like, is that big in the grand scheme of, like, if you ask most casual fans, do they even know who Rico Verhoeven is? A lot of people in combat sports do, but the average fan doesn't. The average fan probably knows a Nagano though, right? So
yeah, agreed.
It's different. Yeah, thanks again for the support, City Life. And by the way, sorry I forgot to include you in that video. I didn't realize how well you did this year on YouTube, buddy. So that's awesome. Nobody is on, like, every time I go on YouTube, I could be in like the middle of the night. I swear to God, the City Life Project is streaming some card from like Korea or something like that. So I admire the grind, my friend. Really well done. Congrats to you and all your success this year, my friend. That was great. Rico left Glory earlier this year. Armin has to fight Benoit Saint-Denis if he beats Hooker. If Max beats Charles, and he will have to. I know you've mentioned this a few times. Maybe he will fight Benoit Saint-Denis. I don't know. I think Benoit Saint-Denis does beat Hooker, though.
Yeah. I think they do Gamrot and Armin next.
Yeah.
As like a fight night main event or something like that.
Hopefully if Armin takes the fight. If the UFC doesn't like wrestling heavy fighters, why did they hire them to begin with? Good question. I don't know.
Some of the wrestling heavy guys like Khamzat resonate with a certain portion of the fan base. I think it depends on their social media numbers and their draw compared to their fight style more than anything.
Thank you, C. Pete. Good to hear from you. There's a huge difference between John Martin and Pete Murray, Don Davis. Davis is a money guy, with Martin actually seems more about the sport. Yeah, I would agree with that too. Francis Rico. I'd like to see Francis Rico, but I don't know if it happens. Do you think Nagano fights Gable Stevenson, or is that too wild of an idea? I don't think Nagano takes that either. There's no upside for Nagano taking that fight, right?
I don't think so at all. And Gable Stevenson, he's in there with John Jones. He wants to go to the UFC. We're never going to see Ngannou in the UFC again, so I don't think that happens.
Isha in the house, that's right. Phil is the best heavyweight on the planet. Fedor-esque run, modern day. Well, okay, but listen, I think Phil de Fries is totally slept on in terms of the overall grand scheme of heavyweights. Like, remember, he did fight in the UFC back in the day and then has made quite the run in KSW. The only thing I would say, and I say this with a lot of guys that aren't in the UFC, who are you fighting? Who's the competition, right? So saying that, though, heavyweight in the UFC is pretty slim. Like, it would be nice to see Phil come over to the UFC, but I don't know if that'll ever happen. They won't pay him what he's getting over there overseas, right?
Yeah. And seeing how like somebody like Patchy Mix did this year, and Aaron Pico, I know he got knocked out as well. Seeing even Bellator / PFL guys come over and not do well really makes me question the rest of the world's competition level compared to the UFC. Like, it's not even like A promotion, like A level UFC and B level everybody else. It's like A level is UFC and everybody else is C or below from a talent standpoint.
Wish John Jones turned down Chael again. Chael shouldn't have been fighting for that belt at all. Again, it was based off what they like. What time did we start? We started at 12 Eastern, 9 Pacific, so a little bit earlier here today. Won't Bryce Mitchell be headlining the White House card? Don't think so. 15 fight win streak, 13 title defenses, roided up KSW. Fact that MMA disrespect. But again, like, who's he fighting though? That would be my thing. Like, is he beating guys that are like impressive overall? You tell me. You'd know better than I would. GSP was way ahead of his time, but I wouldn't put the rest of those ahead of the current guys. Okay. How would UFC run if Scott Coker ran it? How would PFL run if Dana White ran it? Ooh. I just can't imagine Dana not running the UFC. And then
me too.
Scott Coker running the UFC. I mean, he did a pretty good job. My only gripe with Bellator is they never came to Canada. Not once under the Scott Coker regime did they come to Canada. And I was like, what are you guys doing? That's a good market. So
yeah.
Off topic, Gamrot needs to be more firm with the UFC in 2026. He's been a company man, but left the UFC. But he has no leverage, though. None of these fighters do. Unless you're like Jones or McGregor. Like, you don't have leverage. So it's like if the UFC says jump, you have to say how high.
Even like an Oliveira doesn't really have leverage. He has leverage to drive a big payday, but he doesn't have leverage to drive matchups and things like that.
Mokaev is the biggest duck in the UFC, turning down, I don't know who that is, after Yuri beat Shorty. Torres is discussing Mokaev not fighting him makes it the biggest duck. Okay, listen, you would know better than me. Your City Life, to his credit, on the weekends, like 12 at night, is watching all these cards at all different hours of the day. Like, I just can't. Like, I got to get up on an early on Saturday. I got to go coach my 4-year-old. He's got soccer. And then my 8-year-old's got soccer later that day in hockey. It's a lot going on outside that. I reckon Mokaev attempts double champ status at Braves FC, then signs at PFL 135. Ooh.
Maybe.
Do you think I mean, does he have success at 35 though?
He's small.
Big weight class. Yeah, I know. I was going to say that. We're loving the dual stream as well. Thanks. I ducked him to beat the Welsh guy. I don't get it. Mokaev is striking more outside the UFC, but only wrestles in the UFC. Maybe because he feels more comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Okay. I will keep an eye on that guy's last name that I can't pronounce. Johnny Hendricks was the perfect foe for GSP. Strong wrestler, heavy hands. Still think he won. I'm a Canadian. Johnny Hendricks won that fight.
He did, yeah.
Yeah, 100% he won that fight. That's true. Why is it a common thing to go to the movies on Christmas? I'll ask Wyatt this. Yeah, I don't know.
They put out new movies on Christmas Day. I think it's usually because it's a federal holiday and people have it off work. Movie theaters are dying as a whole because people watch everything on streaming. I know. I love doing it. I love that.
I don't go enough, but I still like going to the movies. Movie popcorn is still top 3 favorite snack. I know it's one of the worst things you can eat, but
yeah. I think they just pair it with a holiday. They pair new movie releases with a day that they know everybody's off work and with their families anyway. It's always been a tradition in my family that we go to the movies on Christmas Day.
By the way, very underrated thing, going to the movies by yourself. I've done it a couple times. Like
I've done it a couple times too.
There's a movie like my family didn't want to see. It just went on my own. I remember I was on vacation one time where I was traveling for work and I needed to kill some time. And I'm like, I'll just go see a movie. And it was great. So
yeah, man. I'm 27. And when I was, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, I had that like young guy thing or young person thing of not wanting to do things unless it was in a group. Now that I'm older, my friend group is way smaller and I'm way more open to doing things by myself, whether that's go for a walk down at the beach, whether that's go do this or that. I'm way more inclined to do things by myself because I don't have to worry about accommodating what somebody else wants to do.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's you definitely evolve as a human. As a Californian, I hate more people being here already. It's too dangerous every day.
Yeah, there's good and bad parts. There's some really bad part. Like I live in the LA area. Literally 2 blocks can make a difference. Like where I live, it's pretty nice. There isn't really crime like that or homelessness. But like if you go into LA, you can go be on one street in Beverly Hills with $10 million mansions, 2 streets over. It's like an open air drug market. It's a wild thing. 1 block makes a difference.
It's kind of like here, Vancouver. You go downtown. Some of the richest people in Canada live in downtown Vancouver, especially in the high rises and the condos down there. They're like $1 million a pop down there. But if you go to like East Van, it's like zombie land out there. Like there's a whole issue here in Vancouver where like they're just like they can't really stop it. So anyways, that's a topic for another day. Ferguson, Woodley, and boxing, who wins? I mean, Woodley's much bigger, right? So I would say Ferguson because everything I've seen from Woodley in boxing is terrible. Yeah. Talk later, guys. Merry Christmas to you all. Thank you, Dean. I appreciate that. Happy holidays. If you guys are up watching Risen on New Year's Eve, I'll be live. Wouldn't surprise me. New Year's Eve's my birthday. Maybe I'll be up. I don't know. We'll see. I'm going out for a nice dinner, and then I'll stay up that night probably. So depends if my wife and kids will stay up too. We'll see. Biggest wish for 2026 is MMA related. See Rebecca doing well and probably ranked at either lightweight or featherweight. It's been a rough go for him, man. So we'll see. Okay, a couple more. Let's. We're almost done here. DeFries is the only people deserving to fight Francis. Gotcha. Dana White should just shut up about MMA being the best, unlike boxing. He will never do that. He's a promoter. Khamzat has better sub abilities, in my opinion. Plus, he can take back better. People forget Islam couldn't sub Volk and was struggling with Poirier. What do you say to that?
I mean, who has Kevin Holland? Or I'm sorry, not Khamzat. He's submitted Kevin Holland, and he submitted Rob Whittaker. Rob Whittaker compromised jaw. That's why he tapped so fast to that. Kevin Holland's been subbed by a lot of guys before. Islam has subbed guys that are pretty tough to sub. Like I know Oliveira subbed Poirier, and I know that guys like Moicano and Volk are good grab. I don't know. To me, he's submitted guys that are harder to submit. Khamzat has done a lot of dominating non-wrestlers. For example, if he would have subbed Kamaru Usman, I'd have a different answer to this question. But he has subbed bad grapplers, in my opinion, or subpar grapplers, not bad.
Okay.
I'd say Islam.
Merry Christmas, Cheddar. Okay, we're almost done these questions here. You guys are awesome. Thanks for all the questions. You follow Inca FC at all? They finally are getting on Fight Pass. If they're on Fight Pass, I'll check them out. That's good. Duke, I skipped your question. Nagano doesn't have a manager. He was with Markel Martin, who previously was with CAA Combat Sports. They actually had a pretty solid stable of fighters that they managed back in the day. So they had GSP, they had Rory McDonald, Mandel Nallo. Who else was on that? Cleo Roundtree, Nagano. Valentina was with them for a bit, and now because Markel got out of like MMA management, and then he was still managing Nagano for a while. Like I think he did the Tyson Fury fight, and then I don't know, they had a falling out. So that's the last I heard. So
it's a common theme with Francis is burnt bridges.
Yeah. Ilya's wife saying she's getting death threat from Ilya fans. I mean, not shocked. Again, there's just some whack job fans that like they treat their fighters as like a religion, and they get way too crazy. And you just go look at some of the stuff that certain fighters, like I always talk about Jamal Hill, like people like there was the guy who like guys who were harassing his like 11-year-old daughter at an event, like, and he's trying to go to the bathroom in an arena. Like this is where we've gone now with fans. It's
yeah.
Yeah,
I was gonna say when Kamaru Usman got knocked out in Salt Lake City by Leon Edwards, people were commenting on a video of Kamaru Usman's daughter crying at her unconscious dad, and people were like, "LOL, your dad's dead." And so like, it's just like at a certain point, you gotta like, it is a person that you're talking about. You know, it's not just like a movie character; it's an actual person.
Yeah. Fight Society. I know you've been uploading for a while, but your hard work made it look easy.
Thank you.
There you go. I did horrible on YouTube 2025. I lost money. I mean, your numbers might have gone down, but from what I saw in view stats, it looked like you did pretty well for the year. But at City Life, by the way, everyone's numbers went down except like Guru. There was a few that like did, went up, but like across the board, and we're talking big channels. Like I mentioned this on the video the other day, like MMA fighting, their revenue, again, not completely 100% accurate, but like their revenue went down almost 50K this year. Like that's a lot. Now, granted, Ariel left, so that was a big gap for them, but yeah, wasn't expecting that. Too many regional pay-per-views to support. Francis should fight Vadim Nemkov. You won't, though. Watch the rest of the world. Don't promote guys who aren't UFC level. You got to link up with my guy Zach likes MMA, because Zach only really watches regional MMA too. PFL not interested in Nagano, probably. He is fighting legit guys. Okay, I'll check. They're roided up. Okay, I'll check out DeFry's opposition. Okay, Woodley's definition of over the hill, Chingon 2. That's true. Also from LA, Compton, Carson area. Wish it was more safe here. Yeah, I'm lucky where I live here in Vancouver. Like I live in one of the safest places in British Columbia, like where I live. But it's still like you go to certain areas, it's not great. Holland, Oliveira, Moicano when it comes to grappling defense. Yes and no. He's been subbed a bunch of times though too. Didn't Brandon Allen submitted him? I remember years ago. So.
He got submitted by Kyle Dawkins. I know it was after a headbutt, but like he got submitted. Like, I mean, at least if you want to make the argument for Moicano, saying Holland's better than Moicano grappling defense, I understand. But Oliveira, I don't really put anybody's grappling above him from a jiu-jitsu standpoint. And even the Islam submission, it's because he got dropped with that hook and kind of, went to the ground, and Islam took advantage of it.
Just two more questions we'll get to. Again, Wyatt, appreciate you sticking around here.
Oh, yeah, no worries, man. I love this stuff.
Nagano also said he didn't like the whole event for his fight with Joshua. I wonder if he's still on good terms with Turkey. Again, burning a bridge. Like, it's a theme with Francis, right? Like, we keep seeing this. My numbers tripled, but okay, so the numbers were right then. My numbers tripled, but I buy regional pay-per-views to support the leagues. How much are these regional events that you're paying for? I hope they're not like $80 like the UFC. I pay for every UFC pay-per-view, but what I do at the end of the year is I put it towards my taxes, and then I get a bit of a refund. But I just can't I can't have like crack streams or anything because I need to actually watch what's going on if I'm going to talk about it, right? So. You guys are real MMA YouTubers. I'm just a random guy. No, listen, let me be clear about this. Like, I don't ever think, like, I also get to interview fighters. I interview fighters for a living. Like, I don't ever think I'm like above anyone. Like, I think we're all the same. We like watching the sport. We're making content out of it. We're all the same, man. Like, don't ever feel like you're not as, up to the same level as everyone else. Like, a lot of us can just get on here with a camera and talk about fighting. So, Fight Society is a personal trainer.
Yeah,
as well.
Hopefully making YouTube my full-time thing in 2026. We've had some really good growth this year, but for now, yeah, I personal train as my day job.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll ever go full-time on this. I think, I'm happy. This year I've had to really adjust kind of my content, but I don't know, 2 kids, a mortgage, all that. Like, I gotta be like, the thing I like about doing my interviews is that I get like a flat rate. So I know every month how much I'm going to make. Yeah. Like, it's, with YouTube, it's all over the place, but
yeah, it can be very up and down with AdSense and stuff like that.
Yeah. Happy to see real ones like you guys grow. Glory about to shut my shit down anyways. Oh no, that sucks. Okay.
Yeah, Glory was trying to copyright him or something. I saw that the other day.
Yeah, I think Dana's said enough about Ngannou. Holland doesn't get subbed every fight. Wish he did. I'd have more fights right. Francis was crazy for saying water was poisoned on Joe Rogan. Oh yeah, he did say that.
Did he really? What the heck?
That's what I mean. Regional pay-per-views can be as cheap as $20, but tend to be around $40, $45. Gotcha. That's why I got to go to Spectation Sports, get your $20 a month subscription, and you get all types of events.
There you go.
Which is great. Shameless plug there. Wyatt, thanks for doing this, man. Good time to end here today. Did about an hour and 15. Anything you got coming up that we can look forward to? I know you're doing your awards. Did you film that yet? I just saw the behind the scenes stuff on Instagram. Is that coming out soon?
Yes, so I did. It's I filmed it. It's going to be a live stream, and it has some pre-recorded portions. It's just a little bit too much of a production to do 100% live. That's going to be this Saturday, the 27th. So that's my big thing to plug, is definitely Fight Society MMA Awards live stream this Saturday, December 27th. And of course, videos and live streams almost every day, but that's the big thing I want to push, is the award show this weekend.
And I said it off the top, guys. I want to do more of these collabs in the future, not just with Fight Society, although we'll definitely do something again. I think how we should do this is I'll go back on your show whenever you'll have me, and vice versa. We'll do this every once in a while because it's fun. I know you guys are into it. It's definitely like, I enjoy doing it because I can bounce ideas off someone else and not just talking to the chat here. So that's really great. I'll also invite you as a collab on this once this live stream ends, because I know you can't do it beforehand. Right. And if there's anyone you guys want to see me collab with in the future, just let me know in the comments. Again, I want to try and do some different stuff on this channel. I got a couple new segment ideas, but this will not be the last live stream of the year. I will be going live next week, I think on Monday, and then on my birthday. I always do a birthday stream, so that'll be a New Year's Eve, so I'll be hopping on there. Again, I'll give you the floor here though, my friend. Anything else you want to plug with Fight Society before we get out of here? I'll give you the floor.
Just the award show, and I drop a video basically every day, and I do streams almost every day, so there's always something new for you guys to watch. But Saturday the 27th for the Fight Society Awards. That's all I got. Just that, and just check out my channel. I drop something new every day.
Perfect. All right.